Today's market update.
A lot of talk on Wall Street recently, digital currency, and many of you may not even know what that is. Dan Ricardo, clinical professor of finance from USD, is here with what you need to know. Dan, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Shirley. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was sitting at the dinner table, and my husband looked up at me. He goes, "Do you know how much Bitcoin is?" And I heard the 46, and I thought he meant like cents or dollars. And then he continued with the number, and I'm like, oh, my word.
Incredible. Up over 250% since October. But, you know, if you're not sure exactly what it is, ask one of your kids, Shirley, because they're pretty bright. I guarantee they'll know more about Bitcoin than you and your husband. It used to be we would say, you know, pay for something in credit or cash. Forget it. Now it's, do you want to pay for it with Bitcoin?
When Bitcoin, and I want you to talk about it, because there might be some adults who are like the kiddos, and they're like, what is that? Tell us. When this first came out, these were like pennies. And for the value to increase like this, to bring us into the whole cryptocurrency world.
Right. So you need a PhD in quantum physics to understand this stuff, but I'm going to make it really simple. So if you're home eating your mini wheats, here's what you need to know. It's basically an unregulated digital currency, an alternative currency, which simply means this. There are no banks, there are no countries, so there's no banks, no borders. The digital currency basically exists only in cyberspace. There is no gold behind it or anything like that. And you can use it, Charlie, to pay for transactions, theoretically, between parties, or what really people are using it for, as you said, is to speculate. And the reason why is because the value has gone through the roof, up, you know, as I said, over 250% just over the last couple of months. Purely speculation, Charlie, because, you know, a skeptic would say it's the greater fool theory, which is you believe if you buy it now, tomorrow you can sell it to another fool for a higher amount, right? But this thing looks like it has some legs in terms of the future. Now, whether or not it's overvalued, that's a whole separate discussion. But the speculative value, as you said, Charlie, has gone through the roof. By the way, along with lots of other assets that we've seen over the last couple of months.
Who's behind all this?
A bunch of computer geeks, basically. So, but essentially, these Bitcoins get mined by computer engineers using advanced algorithms. I won't go into that because I don't even understand it all. As I said, let's ask our kids. They'll tell us how. But essentially, the important point to remember is these are not issued by banks. They're not issued by countries or anything like that. So it is very much a glimpse into what could be the future for consumers as well as investors.
Okay, and why would people want to use this over cash and over all the other currencies and ways to pay right now? Why this?
Yeah, a couple of reasons. Number one, there's no fees, right? So there's no bank fees because there are no banks involved. Number two, it's instant. You can essentially move a Bitcoin, transfer a Bitcoin with a click and a slide on your smartphone very quickly. And finally, Charlie, there's no record. There is no audit trail, so to speak. So again, the government, banks, up to this point, they have no trail of what you and your kids around the kitchen table are doing with your Bitcoins.
Okay, so the likelihood of this changing at some point would be?
It's pretty high. At some point, you can see that the regulators get a little bit more interested in this. In fact, in some countries, they already have. And I suspect over the next few weeks, months, years, you're going to see the regulators like the Federal Reserve Bank and others start to take a much keener look at what this is all about.
Who's using this the most? What type of person? Because people who are watching at that time, I remember when the Bitcoin stuff came out, there was a lot of conversation like, do we get in? Do we not? And now the people who got in, I mean, wow. I mean, it's a lot of money.
I was talking to favorite son this morning about Bitcoin because he bought a little bit a while ago purely for speculative reasons. Okay. He's not buying anything with it. It's just sitting there hoping it goes up in value. But the bet is at some point you and I will start making transactions in Bitcoin. You saw the other day Tesla announced, in fact, that not only are they buying Bitcoin with some of their corporate funds, but they plan to start accepting it the next time you and I decide to buy a Tesla.
Okay, so you're watching this now and you're intrigued. Not you, yeah. I'm saying our friends at home. What do you need to know if you want to start using it? Do you put a lot of money, a little money? Do you test it?
Yeah, so I'm intrigued too, by the way. And here's what I always say. Number one, learn what it is, right? So do some homework. Never invest in something you don't understand. There's plenty of information out there. Absorb as much as you can. It's complicated, but at the end of the day, it breaks down to an unregulated currency and unregulated, uninsured account. So there is some risk. Don't invest in something if you don't understand it. Only use reputable, and I put that in quotes, dealers, because this is very new. So dealers like Coinbase and others, you'll see, at least have some track record now, Shawley, of transacting with Bitcoin. And there's apps you can use like BitPay if you do decide to pay for your next vacation home using all those Bitcoins you bought when they were just pennies, and now they're worth $45,000.
Well, I know. I cannot believe it. But like you got to be in with the change, Dan.
You'll know this is real when you can go to 7-Eleven and pay for your Slurpee or a Mani Petty using a Bitcoin. That's when it's really, that's when it's for real.
Totally. Okay, I will continue to do my due diligence and learn about this Bitcoin, even though I like my credit card and my cash. So, I'm that kind of girl. All right, good to see you. Thank you, Dan.
All right.